So unless you're asleep, you'll probably know that there's a lot of stuff happening around us today that is not only highly concerning, it's also absolutely disgusting. Some of the stuff that's been coming to light, there's simply no excuse for. And a lot of these things, they haven't just been happening in the shadows and in the background. These are things that have been happening directly under our noses for what seems like decades. And, in a very big way, it can feel like the world right now is just being cloaked in a massive shadow, like darkness is taking over. And I've heard a lot of people talking about this. I've actually heard some people talk about how this seems biblical. Like all these things are coming to a head. Negativity is just surrounding us. And it's not going to be long before everything just ends. But is that really where we're headed? Or is there something else happening in the background that is bigger than us? That's something I've been thinking about a lot, because I can't imagine that all of this stuff is just going to happen. There's going to be no consequences. And everybody's just going to get away with all this bad stuff that's been going on around us. And that has left me looking for answers. And while I've been looking for answers, I've uncovered a few truths. And one truth in particular I want to share with you is actually something that Carl Jung talked about. And I've noticed that through learning more about Carl Jung and Alan Watts and some of the other philosophers of their time, the things they talked about were not only very relevant for their time and for what they were talking about, it's also very relevant today. And it all translates to what is going on in the world around us today. And the thing from Carl Jung that really struck me and really made me realize that there might be something happening in the background that is much bigger than us is the idea that there is a shadow within each and every one of us. And there has to be balance. And that's the key here, is that there always has to be balance. So what Carl Jung talks about is the fact that a lot of people try to be very virtuous. And we see that today. We see a lot of people adopting this virtuous mentality. And people will do things just for the sake of being virtuous, even if the thing they're doing isn't right, just so that they can appear good to the world around them. And by doing that, they're suppressing the shadow. They're pushing away the darkness that is 100% inside each and every one of us. But when you suppress the darkness and you suppress the shadow and you try to push that away, you are pushing away and suppressing a part of yourself. And that is a major problem, because instead of dealing with that darkness, learning how to control it and learning how to reconcile it, people just brush it away. They like to pretend it's not there. And by suppressing that, it festers within you. And hatred grows within your heart. And I think we see that in society today, because there is a lot of hatred out there. There are a lot of people out there that are basically unhinged. People fly off the handle over the smallest, petty things. And that is because they have not reconciled the shadow that is within them. And that makes you weak. Because what happens is when something bad happens in your life and you haven't reconciled that darkness, that shadow that is within you, then it destroys you, because you think that you're all good. And now this darkness has crept in and it's taking hold of you. And you feel this darkness within you, but you don't know how to control it. You don't know how to work through that problem. The more that you try to push it down and brush it away, the more that shadow builds up inside you. And then before you know it, one bad thing happens in your life, and that shadow is cast out on the world around you. It's cast out on the people around you. And that is exactly what we're seeing in society today, is the fact that people are letting this shadow build up inside them because they're trying to suppress it. They're trying to believe that it's not there. And eventually that shadow expresses itself as a dark cloud that's hanging over your head, following you around through life, breeding hatred everywhere that you go. And eventually, even though you're trying to do good and you're trying to be virtuous, you end up being consumed by the shadow and you become the darkness. That is what we're seeing. And that is what Carl Jung talks about. And that's where balance comes into play. Because when you try that hard to be good and you believe that you are the light, it has to be balanced out by the darkness. And the shadow is going to creep in. It is going to eventually overwhelm all of that energy that you've been spending into trying to be good, into trying to be the beacon of light. But for the shadow to be that prevalent today, it must also mean that it is balancing a tremendous amount of light. Where is that light? I think that light is within all of us. And I think that's kind of what we're also seeing, is that there are a lot of people that are waking up. There are a lot of people that are being forced into the position to look deep within themselves and focus on what is actually important in life. And they are realizing that yes, we do have evil within us, and we have to embrace the fact that this bad stuff is happening. People are learning that we have to reconcile that. We have to face it, and we have to find alternate ways to deal with this stuff. And I think one of the ways people are dealing with it is just simply acknowledging that it does exist, choosing to opt out and not participate in that, and forging their own path, rising above all the hatred and being that beacon of light. Not the virtuous just for the sake of being virtuous beacon of light. Not the compassion just for the sake of being compassionate beacon of light, but the true beacon of light, discovering the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be, embracing it, and choosing the high road. And in that sense, I think what we might actually be witnessing is a very positive thing. Because like Carl Jung says, there has to be balance. And the fact that it feels like we're being overwhelmed with darkness and the shadow is taking over the world means that the balance is occurring. And it might be kind of hard to see the light because all of the stuff that we see in the world around us is negativity, because that is the agenda and that is the narrative that is fed to us. But if what Carl Jung says is actually correct, and I truly believe that it is, then that must mean that the darker things get. In order to maintain balance, there are going to be a lot more people that are going to wake up. And even though in the moment now and in the moments ahead, it might feel like darkness is taking over, and that is the thing that is most prevalent, we have to understand and realize that this balance is occurring. There are a lot of people in the background that are waking up, discovering themselves, and are choosing light. They're choosing positivity. And whether they know it or not, they are casting that positivity out into the world around us, because just like the shadow, just like the darkness, the more positivity there is, the more that positivity and that light bleeds out into the world around us. So if that is you and you're realizing this and you're coming to terms with things, you're seeing things for what they really are, you're discovering yourself and you're choosing the higher road, don't stop. Cling to that and keep doing whatever it is that you're doing, because as long as we maintain balance, the darkness can never win.